Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about Chinese stocks. So I was thinking about making this video for a while, but after the last few days, definitely I think making this video might help a couple of people. And as well as just talk about Chinese stocks, as well the mindset as well with buying on the dip and when these dips happen. So a lot of the Chinese stocks at the moment have sold off a huge amount. In fact, a lot of them have crashed big time. Where we look at Alibaba, which is probably one of the most well known and probably the stock that if you are going to buy a Chinese stock, I think most people think of Alibaba. And if you look at Alibaba since October time, that was about a $300 stock. We're down 32%. We've crashed an absolute huge amount. If you go to JD.com, same again. Once if you go over to February, we're a $100 stock. Now we're down 31%. Another stock that's crashed a huge amount. One of the most popular stocks, once again, Chinese stocks, and probably one that doesn't get enough credit to be fair, because it's a really good company, is Tencent Holdings. And Tencent, once again, we'll go to February time. That one's down 27%, so not as much, but you get the picture. A lot of these stocks are losing, around about 30% or more of their share price pretty much since this year. And because these share prices are down a huge amount, you're looking at a lot of these stocks now and you're thinking, okay, is this now a buying opportunity to go invest into these companies? Now, this is just a very quick point about mindset. The funny thing about investing, and especially a lot of stocks in particular, is that when stocks are just kind of going, like this, and they're going up and up and up and up, this stock's performed so well. In that time, people are going, oh, this is a great company, and obviously it's a great company, it's going to do very well. But as soon as like the opposite happens and the stocks go down, it's very funny and also interesting just see how much like sentiment changes so fast. You have a couple of months of period where the stock goes sideways or the stock goes down. Very quickly, people go, well, obviously this is a bad company. Why would you buy it? And it's very funny how fast a share price direction change can affect people's opinion on a company and the vision, and people are a lot more negative on the company when compared to a stock where the stock's going up and up and up, people go, oh, it's absolutely amazing. As soon as it goes down, it's very funny how people start speaking negatively about that company, and that's just something to be aware of, is that don't get caught up on the short term or like where the share price is going. You just look at this and think, long term, is this a good company? 5 years down the line, is this a company? Is this going to be at the same sort of like valuation? And yeah, I just think it's very funny how quick that sort of thing happens. The second point is that also don't forget like Alibaba and a lot of these other Chinese companies, they are generally quite hated companies. Like even now, me talk about Chinese stocks, there'll be a few people in the comments that are like, oh, why would you buy them? They're absolutely rubbish. They all cheat on the numbers. That's quite strong. It's actually scary how actually strong quite a few opinions of that are towards Chinese companies. A lot of them get accused of like having dodgy accounts, dodgy numbers, and sure, there is a few instances where there has been a few accounts or a few companies that have had numbers that were, well, basically, they were frauds and they were frauding a lot of the numbers. But there's just a chance, or there's just a likely some of these things happen in other countries as well. There's been a few US companies that have had their fair share, a few other companies as well. I mean, obviously like Wirecard as well. That was a German company that was massive, where it had issues where it was lying about the amount of money it had on its balance sheet. You look at like to the recent like popular EV companies, like Lordstown Motors, like Nikola, two US companies there that have been into a lot of trouble for what they've been doing as well. And it just can happen. The big thing is very much like how you would research into a US company. It's important that you go through the management team and what management team are doing, their history and everything like that. So yeah, that's one thing that will always happen. And the thing as well is like when this sort of thing happens, where a lot of these Chinese stocks are having these massive dips. Like I said earlier, like in a bull market, the sentiments of Chinese stocks there's not as negative, but when we have these sort of things where the stocks are going down like this, there's quite a few people that are a lot more negative on the company. And once again, you've just got to assess this situation, or this dip, go, is this actually a good opportunity? Is this actually an opportunity to go buy a company? Because the thing is what normally happens, or a dip in the company, is that when the company is doing, like if we look on Tencent here, when the company is doing this, people are like, oh, this is an absolute amazing company. I wish I could own this company. Oh, if only this company had a 20-30% dip, I'd be like all over it. I'd buy it every time. And then what happens is we actually get this 20-30% dip, and normally you don't get dips on stocks for like no reason. It can happen sometimes, but generally we don't get like too many like dips in stocks just because they feel like it. Normally there's like a little bit of negative news out there, and you've just got to look at the negative news and go, okay, I've got the dip that I wanted to, assess it. Is this a good buying opportunity? And quite often when we get these dips, because of some news that is nothing major, these are actually sometimes some of the best opportunities to go buy companies. And what can happen, and sometimes this happens probably to a few, I'd say newer investors, but even I've seen very experienced investors do exactly the same thing, is they see this news and then go, oh, I've got my dip, but oh, have you seen that news? I don't know if I want to buy it now. And they can get scared off, and that's the big thing, is that sometimes when you get these dips, you just got to assess how big of a deal it is and if these are good buying opportunities and take it. So yeah, that's just what I want to say on that, is that just a bit of mindset with dips in stocks and everything like that. Now going back to the point of like Chinese stocks are massively sold off, or they're massively dipping at the moment. Realistically, what's the reasons for that? It's just kind of 2021 has just been a lot more negative to the likes of JD, Alibaba, Tencent. They've just been a lot more negative. I think that the Chinese government are getting slightly involved a little bit more into the companies, which has worried a few people. And I think as well as that every so often the US media tend to go on to when this sort of thing happens and press and push that very hard. And I think that's what's happened as well. So I think you have the US, which every so often does like to push an agenda against Chinese stocks, is kind of getting strong once again. And that's why we've got a big dip in the share price. And I think when you've got companies like this one here, which has recently come onto the stock market, which I don't even know how you say it, which is I think DD, I guess. I'm not sure if I said it right, but it looks as a pretty simple name to say, but you never know with some of these Chinese companies. But yeah, anyway, a company like this that's once again getting involved in a lot of issues. It's like Alibaba, and when they had their Alipay IPO and stuff, that caused a lot of problems, and just little things like that uncertain them, like make a bit of stocks or Chinese stocks a little bit more nervous to invest in, I guess. So yeah, it's just a combination of that, a lot of little negative things all happening, and just the press being a little bit negative onto the stocks. But what actually I kind of thought about with this whole situation is that a lot of these Chinese stocks are going down a lot, but something very similar happened, and this is history actually repeating itself. And in fact, this was actually that big in 2018. They actually spread to the whole stock market, and the whole stock market went down in 2018. And if you took them opportunities in 2018, this was actually the last time I believe the stock market was like negative on the year. But in 2018 there was a lot of companies, and one in particular that I really picked up on, that in 2018 once again the negativity towards Chinese stocks was huge, and we went down 51%. We're not down as that much just yet, so there is always room that we could go a little bit further from here, but we were down 50 plus percent on this one at the time. And then do you know what happened? People just got a bit bored about Chinese stocks and beating them down. The stock went up 300%, and this at the point, we were up nearly 400% on JD.com, and I still own my shares. These are shares that I'm up still a fair bit on at the moment. I'm still up 228% on, but I took the opportunity to buy shares in JD.com, and they performed very, very well. 10% once again, they got, like I said earlier, they got a lot of hate in 2018. Once again, if you went and then bought them shares, you're up 106%. And Alibaba, once again, these guys didn't go down as much. They were only down about 30%. Once again, the stock went up on a very good run. If you bought the shares then. So yeah, it just looks at them, and you just look at history, and something very similar happened with history, and I remember this, and it was I took this opportunity and thought, you know what, these are good stocks to go buy and make good money on them. Alibaba was one of them. I bought this one, $170 range-ish. JD.com, as you know, which has been one of the channel's best performers, up over 300%. So yeah, just think about the opportunities here and just think about, realistically, there could be 6-12 months of uncertainty, more negative press to Chinese stocks. But if you can find great companies in the long term that are going to, like in Alibaba, do you think Alibaba's going to stay at $206 if it carries on growing at like the rate it is doing? I mean, I'm just going to leave that there for you to answer that. But you look at Alibaba now, and in fact, if I just load this up, this is currently Alibaba's like PS ratio, and you can just see how much it's actually dropped a huge amount. Like this is the lowest PS ratio that it's ever been trading at. And once again, if you look at Alibaba P history, once again, this is really low for Alibaba, like a forward P of like 16 as well, I believe. And just in general, this stock, when you look at the share price, it's back at like nearly CV time. So yeah, I just wanted to make a video talking about this opportunity, not actually say like, go buy this certain stock, but just like when you are in this situation, those are just the things to think about. And also a little bit of history, and I believe that there's a little bit of history looking to repeat itself here. And we know how that worked for the last time this sort of thing happened. We know the outcome for Alibaba and JD.com, and what happened to the share price after the drop that they had. And like I said, look at the bad news, think about how serious it is. Can this really affect the company in long term? And think, okay, is this 30% drop, 40% drop, 50% drop? Is this an actual really good buying opportunity? Because when these sort of things happen, this is normally when you get your really good buying opportunities. And yeah, thought I'd leave that one with you to think about and decide. But hope it was useful as always. Smash the like button, new subscribe. See you on the next one.